Okey, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we meet again. Sorry. Good
Waalaikumsalam.
afternoon. Lupa ada kawan kita non-Muslim. Alright. So we meet again. Last time was last week. Okay, we Halmi Rashid. So today we have our Dr. Nick Roslina Rosli. Okay. So before we start, okay, belum lagi kita dulu ada lagi beberapa minit. Okay, lagi kawan-kawan kamu akan masuk. Saya expect hari ni lebih kurang sekitar 500 audience. Okay, maknanya combine lah daripada FYP1 dan FYP2. Okay, so tajuk kita hari ini berkaitan dengan literature review. Sebab literature review ni adalah satu hardcore dia. Jadi daripada FYP1 dengan FYP2 biasanya memang kamu kena ribas balik. Sebab kamu nak kena buat FYP1 buat proposal dia. FYP2 of course lah untuk buat thesis. Dengan technical report. Alright, so sebelum kita mulakan, ada apa-apa soalan tak berkaitan yang apa? Yang tak berkaitan dengan FP1 yang boleh kamu nak bertanya sekarang, sementara kita belum nak mula lagi ni. Ada apa-apa soalan yang ni? Tak ada
Ya,
Okey.
Tak ada, tak ada.
Alhamdulillah. So, bukan apa So, last week kita dah deadline untuk submission pendaftaran untuk FYP1. Okay. So, this week tu kamu dah sepatutnya dah mulalah dengan supervisor masing-masing. Right. Sebab saya jujur saya katakanlah setiap semester kita ada, saya menguruskan lebih kurang 20 lebih pelajar-pelajar yang tak boleh nak commit FYP beliau. Jadi kita pun tak boleh nak paksa-paksa dalam keadaan begini. So di awal-awal semester ni ingin saya tekankan sekali lagi kalau kamu rasa tak boleh nak commit, tak boleh nak ada cukup masa ke apa, saya sarankan better kamu drop. Jangan di hujung-hujung nanti baru kamu nak drop. Sebab bukan apa, dia melibatkan banyak pihak. Sebab kadang-kadang kita dah setkan kamu punya presentation, saya dah cari kejar kamu punya supervisor kamu kejar kamu hilang. Jadi dia melibatkan banyak pihak. Lepas tu pihak fakulti mencari kamu lagi. So, di awal-awal semester ni kalau kamu rasa kamu tak boleh commit, better kamu drop dahulu. Kita faham keadaan sekarang ni keadaan yang agak beruncing dengan kita punya pandemik, dengan kita punya hari raya lagi nak dekat ni kan. Ada lagi berapa hari 21 hari ni kan nak raya. Jadi kita faham lah. Jadi kalau kamu tak boleh nak commit, better drop sekarang. Takkan lari gunung dikejar. Daripada kamu duk push nak ni, sekejap lagi ujung-ujung nanti kan salah, lagi bahaya. Okay. Alright. Saya macam biasa saya akan beri attendance nanti di tengah-tengah nanti. Okay, kepada FYP2, Dr. Salbi pun akan bagi attendance di tengah-tengah. Okay. Alright, sebelum kita mula saya nak tanya. Dr. Nick Roslina dah ada dah?
Ada.
Okay, sudah ada. Alright, so Dr. Nick Roslina akan menjadi speaker untuk kita untuk hari ini Alright, beliau memang seorang yang very wise. Okay, it's a lot to share to you. Saya harap kamu semua dapat ambil manfaat lah dari apa yang akan dibentangkan untuk hari ini. Okay, so Dr. Nick, saya serahkan majlis kepada anda. Silakan.
Okay, terima kasih Dr. Zainal. So, kita ada about an hour kot. Just let me share my slides first. Mana tadi? Sekejap. Mana dia pergi? Doing this. Then share. Alright. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon to everybody here. And I was informed that it should be a mix of FYP1 and also FYP2. So we'll give not that detailed that like having a workshop of a literature review, but at least it's a basic, it's an introductions of how you could start and carry out your literature review, especially those in FYP1. So can you see my slide now?
Yes. Yes, can.
Yeah.
Pak.
Sekejap ya, kenapa banyak sangat benda kat atas? Okay. So my name is Nick Roslina. I believe some of you know me through design class, apa lagi? LI. Oh, ada orang mic, Okay. So somebody turn on your mic. Sebab tu saya dengar suara saya echo. Okay lah. So I will be doing a sharing with you on how to construct a literature review for your final year project. Both might be useful for FYP1 and also FYP2. So let me just enlarge this. Okay. A literature review. It is commonly known as which chapter in your FYP thesis? If any of you
Chapter
can.
two.
Chapter 2 pandai.
Chapter 2.
Yeah, betul. So it's in chapter 2. So a basic thesis, if you have a template of chapter 1, 2, 3 sampai 5, you will normally have a literature review in chapter 2. So what is in chapter 1, 3, 4 and 5? So chapter 1 apa dia? I think you have another talk kan last week. I'm not sure on what, but you should know by now. What is your chapter 1, 3, 4 and 5? Chapter 1?
Abstract.
Introduction.
Okay, abstract will be not in chapter. Abstract dia akan ada kat luar. So abstract, lepas abstract will be introductions, and then you go to chapter 2, which is literature review, and chapter 3 methodology. Chapter 4 results and discussion. Chapter 5 conclusions, and then there's another sections after chapter 5, which is
Recommendation.
okay. Chapter references. Chapter 5 tu dia conclusions and also recommendation is in chapter 5. So you have another one section, but you don't call it as a chapter, which is the references. So abstract is not in chapter, but it's called abstract, satu page biasanya. And then chapter 1 is introduction. Chapter 2 literature review. 3 methodology. 4 results and discussions. And then you conclude everything that you have discussed and presented in chapter 4, and finally references. Okay, the last one, references tu it's not in sequence actually. Dia sepatutnya buat concurrent. So if you can see the chapter, it is actually put in sequence. You start with introductions. Dia macam storytelling je. Introductions, you are telling about what you are going to do, a brief general ideas about what you are trying to, what you have done, and then pergi ke literature review. Yang ni nanti yang kita akan tengok hari ni. Lepas dah bagi tahu your readers or your audience what have you learned, what have you read, then baru pergi ke chapter 3 and you discuss about the methods that you're going to use for your research work. Dah bagi tahu this is the methods ni, and then baru pergi masuk ke results, and then discussions of the results that you presented, baru awak conclude. And if you realize all these chapters are like storytelling, it should be in sequence of chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sampai habis. So whenever people read your thesis, it should be in a sequence of storytelling as well. Macam awak baca buku cerita macam tu lah dia. Apa yang kena kat depan sepatutnya ke depan, yang kat belakang tu maksudnya dah ending dah. It shouldn't be putting that not in the proper sequence. Okay, so literature review will actually relate closely to all chapters. Whatever you do in literature review will normally relate to chapter 1. Tapi awak present chapter 1 dulu. And then it will also relate to methodology, results, and also chapters. And of course, it will directly relate to the references. Ni paling link. So I hope you have learned or you have take note of what are the methods available in UiTM that you may use to do references, because it's quite tedious to do references kalau awak guna manual method saja. So do it right from the beginning. Guna methods yang betul untuk buat references. And if I could say, literature review ni is the first thing that you do, walaupun dia berada di chapter 2. You do literature review first, but when you do writing, it will be in chapter 2, because your introduction should come from what you have done from the literature review. I hope it won't get you confused. Okay. So now, what is literature review? So if you can see from I have actually extracted the words of literature and also review from the Cambridge dictionary. I think kalau awak, I'm not sure whether you have to do any dissertations ataupun thesis for those in diploma last time. Diploma ada dissertations ataupun thesis ke?
Ada.
Okay. So it means that all of you are not aware of what is literature review. So let me just introduce what is the meaning of literature in terms of the definitions here. So literature means all the informations relating to a subject, especially informations written by expert. So that is the thing that you're going to find. It's a noun. Literature is the one that you're going to find. Review is to consider something in order to make change in it, to study it, and give opinions about it. So that's the meaning of review. So now you're going to combine these two. Review ni is a verb. So dia perlakuan. That is what you're going to do with literature. So if you can see, there are a few definitions of literature review. Kalau Google pun ada banyak. This is one of it from Ridley. A literature review is where you identify theories and previous research which have influenced the choice of research topic and methodology you're choosing to adopt. So, some of you might have got your title ataupun research topic from your supervisor. I think most of you got your title from your supervisor. But I also have experience having a few students who came to me and have their own things to do. They have their own research, they have things that they want to present it for their FYP. So they should know what are the theories behind the things that they're going to do. They have looked into what are the previous research that people have done before this that make them want to study the topics. So it goes to you as well. Walaupun awak mungkin awak pun sebenarnya awak choose juga kan, sebab awak tengok tajuk and then awak contact your supervisors. But the point comes from there. Kenapa nak buat topik tu? So you have to identify what are the theories behind the things that you're going to do, and then you're going to find what are the things that people have done in the work. Itu two main things that you have to do in literature review. You have to identify the theories. What are the theories yang ada that have been used, that have been created for certain period of time, and also what are the previous research that had done by other people. These are two things that you have to find in order for you to know your topics. Because daripada situ yang awak akan tahu what are the things lacking, awak nak cari apa sebenarnya, and what are the best methods, what are the things that people have done, apa yang berjaya, apa yang tak berjaya, and what are the things that yang people haven't done yet that you want to do. So that's the thing, that's the definitions, general definitions of what is literature review. So next, alah, dia punya lari hope you can see that. Why do you need to do a literature review? So I think I've mentioned some of these in my previous slides. So when you first think of your research, you may not be thinking extensively about the wider context. It's the same with when you're looking at your topics. Why awak bagi topik tu, you might think of benda tu apa, the first word tu apa, what are the keywords. Okay, ni pasal let's say I'm doing work on quoting, so probably what catch my students might be the terms of quoting kat situ, ada katakanlah saya guna graphene material kat situ, and then the applications to word tribology. That might be the first thing that attract the students. So they might not be thinking about other things, the wider context yet. Dia hanya fokus kat perkataan-perkataan itu. So we don't know a lot about the things actually when you see the title. And then the second one, your research is a small piece in a complicated jigsaw puzzle. If you can see the jigsaw puzzle on your right tu, your research work is only a piece of jigsaw puzzle. Katalah yang orang tu pegang kat tengah-tengah tu, is your research. And the rest yang dekat keliling dia, dekat atas dia tu is your literature review. So in order to complete the puzzle, you need to know what are the neighbors of your puzzle sekeliling, neighbors of your puzzle, and of course the rest yang jauh-jauh tu, for you to complete the puzzle. And of course dalam research our aim is not to produce something, to complete a puzzle. You might probably untuk FYP ni is just a 5% of the puzzle dapat complete pun boleh dikira as a good contributions of your work to the body of knowledge. But sikit je research what that you're doing, but your literature review is all what you see beside the jigsaw puzzle. So the third one, you need to know what others have done before. So that's one of the reason kenapa awak kena buat literature review. You're not doing things yang you don't want to do things that people have done several times. You don't want to do things that people have done and fail. You don't want to do things that people had never done dalam record, and people, they know that it is going to be a failure. Itu pun it will be a risky juga. Kita tak nak terlalu jauh daripada what people have done. You normally will pick up something that nearby to what people have done, so that it won't be too risky for your project. Of course, kalau kita dapat buat something yang baru, yang tak ada orang buat langsung, yang totally out of the box, it will be a very novel. Dikira macam novelty of the project. But then how do you confirm that you can do it within 1 year kalau untuk FYP, and it can meet your objective? You will never know because nobody had done that. So it will be a very, very risky research if you do something that are beyond what people have done. So one of the reason is awak kena tahu methods apa yang orang dah pernah guna. Mungkin you adapt some of the methods and tukar. So you have a modifications of the methods. Mungkin materials ni dah ada combination yang orang guna and you want to add one more additional of new materials there. So that will be your contributions. But at least you know that the other materials, katalah ada 3 materials yang dia dah combine tu works and you're trying to add in other materials. So don't go somewhere that people had never done. So that's the reason why you need to know what others had done before. And then you contributed to the ongoing story. It relates to what I said just now actually. Orang dah discuss, okay, kalau kita guna materials ni, the properties will enhance, improve the properties, ataupun I'm doing work on corrosions, the corrosion rate will improve when you use this kind of materials with certain types of thickness, katakan. So people have been discussing that and you do something yang related and you contribute to what people have discussed. Bukan something yang tak ada orang discuss langsung, tak ada orang cakap langsung, tak ada orang buat langsung. So that's the reason why you need to know your areas by doing your literature review. You want to contribute to the ongoing story or the debates that people have reported dalam literature review. And therefore, your readers needs to know about the whole jigsaw puzzle. So remember what I said, your research work that you're going to do for your FYP, and if I can say master ke PhD pun sama. It's just a piece of jigsaw puzzle tu saja. It's your research work. So your readers don't want to know about your jigsaw puzzle saja. Dia nak tahu juga what are the things behind, beside and above it. So that dia boleh tahu, dia boleh at least imagine what is actually happening. And it's actually, you actually have to know that first before your reader know. So that's the thing you have to tell your reader. Macam baca buku cerita juga. Kita orang ni bekerja sebagai petani, but normally they will start not with petani, dia akan start with dalam sebuah kampung, ada satu rumah kayu dekat hujung sungai. That's the literature review that you want to present it to your readers. So readers tahu rumah tu dekat dalam kampung, rumah kayu dekat mana. And later on baru awak nak cakap tentang you yourself. Kalau itu research subject dia lah kan. And you yang kalau orang tu petani tu is your own research subject, and you will be talking about that later on dalam satu sections after you explain about kampung, rumah kayu, location dia semua. And it goes the same with your research work. Sekejap saya nak share link kat somebody. Okay, sorry. And then the last one. This is when you will create a space, gap, or we call it as problem statement for your research. So when you do readings, when you look into what people have done previously, you will realize what are the things that you need to do in order to contribute to the debate. You don't want to repeat exactly the same thing. You need at least improvements. Kalau FYP dia tak perlulah ada novelty sangat, but at least you need to contribute something to the ongoing work. So that is where you can identify what are the problem statement. Macam awak sekarang kan ada, bila awak buat proposal, especially for those in FYP 1, there will be a sections for you to mention what are the problem statement. So that problem statement is actually the gap. Ada ruang tak lagi for you to fill in that yang kosong lagi. Macam saya kata tadi lah, originally ada 3 materials, but then dia punya performance macam ni. So what you are suggesting, adding new material ni, and you have studied about that material. Bila di combine dengan some other materials, it will enhance the properties. Betul lah, hardness dia improve ke. So that will be your problem statement. The current materials that people have used have limitations. So what are the limitations that you want to fill in? So the problem statements not necessarily goes to improvements of materials. It could also be improvements of a process, or it can also be improvements of how you presented data, ataupun methods that you're using. Sebelum ni tak ada orang guna methods tu pun untuk characterize. Material tu dah ada lama dah ada orang buat sebelum ni, dah methods pun awak guna methods yang sama, cuma tak ada orang mungkin analyze in terms of the simulations. I think most of you in this pandemic, we are creating more opportunity for simulation work. So simulation is something not to say new, but then it's quite new to the area of materials especially. So you create something, you analyze data without doing the experimental. But then later on awak kena compare lah. So that is your contributions. Even though material tu, katalah ada buat alloy ke with the same process, but then you do analysis using simulation to predict at certain temperature, kalau guna this temperature what happens, and this temperature what will happens. So that is your contributions, and that will be your problem statement for your research. So the key points for literature review. So literature review forms the basic for high quality research and help maximize relevance, originality, generalizability, and also the impact. So you need to find all these. Relevancy dia dalam dunia academic or research, the originality, is it something that can be generalized, and the impact of the work to the society ataupun at least to the body of knowledge. And then literature reviews provide context, inform methodologies, maximizes innovations, avoid duplicative. Yang ni saya kata ni, people have done it so many times. Kan awak nak buat benda yang sama, so when you do a presentation later on, people will be asking about the new things or your contributions on your research work. So kalau benda tu dah had been done for, let's say, 20 years, you don't want to do research yang duplicative. So that's the reason why you do literature review, and ensure that professional standards are met. So if you're in certain area, especially kalau I will always give you example on materials, because I'm from materials punya ni, my major. So certain types of testing, katakan awak pun dah buat kan, I think most of you have been in material lab science semua tu. So most of the tests that you have conducted is they actually have a standard. So you need to know what are the standard that people have used, and you need to use the same standard as well when you do your research work. So you don't do something yang bukan standard, because it will be questionable. But from literature review is the one that you will find out what are the standards or the professional standard that meet your research work. The third one, literature review takes time. It iterative and should continue throughout the research process. It should not stop at certain periods saja. Ramai orang ingat macam tu. Dia kata, okay, FYP1 hanya buat untuk literature review. Yes, of course. FYP1 is a time for you to study, to investigate, to know your research work. That's why kita kata literature review tu mostly you have to do in FYP1. But then it shouldn't be stopped there. As you do research, awak akan realise there are so many things that you don't know. The more you learn, the more things that you don't know. So when you don't know things, go back, do literature review again. So mungkin dalam masa yang awak FYP1 ni focusing on literature review, you will take most of your time doing literature review. Bila masuk FYP2 nanti ataupun towards the end of FYP1 ni, you should lessen the time for you to do literature review. Instead of doing katalah satu hari 5 paper awak baca, mungkin towards the end nanti awak dah kena reduce dah, because it is a time for you to plan about methodology and all that. Kalau ada certain thing project should have a preliminary test dah masa tu kan. So it should be continuous and it shouldn't be stopped until FYP1 sahaja. Even FYP2 nanti you will realise there are still things that you don't know and you should be reading, and it's time for you to improve your literature review yang awak dah buat. So my advice is to complete your literature review in FYP1. Bukan nak cakap complete, it should be almost a complete draft of literature review in FYP1. FYP2 is a time for you to improvise and finalize your literature review, because literature review takes time. It cannot be done in a week, even a week. Saya pun takkan ada capability. Even I've done research for my degree, master and PhD, I don't have the capability to do that. Literature review takes so long, take times for you to understand, untuk mencari. And kalau awak kata awak boleh buat literature review dalam masa 2 minggu, then there must be something wrong with the way of how you do your literature review. Okay, and then researchers should maximize the use of human resources. Librarians, colleagues, search tools and all that. Nanti kita tengok what are the search tools available and how are you going to look into the literature review using the search engine, and where to look into it. Library ke. So you cannot do it with only reading textbook ataupun ada satu buku je for you reference. It's impossible to say that throughout your research work, FYP1 dengan FYP2 ni ada 2 je rujukan awak. It's impossible. So especially nowadays, awak ada internet, awak ada database yang banyak sangat. You should be using all those technology to improvise your literature review. Awak ni hidup bukan masa zaman saya yang we only have library. Masa tu limited sangat internet, only certain people are using internet and the access is so low. So the only way for me to find information is through asking my lecturer and library. That's the only methods that I could do. Even literature yang artikel semua tu pun, scientific article semuanya dapat daripada library. So you can imagine how long it takes to do that compared to you nowadays. So make use of the technology that you have now. Keeping organized is critical. Okay, literature review, if you don't organize your data, your list of literature, then it will be a disaster. But ada orang dia baca, dia kata okay hari ni baca 5, but what happens to the 5? Oh, tak ingat. Tak pun, it happens to me juga sometimes. I read something yang interesting, tapi saya lupa nak jot down ataupun saya lupa nak paste somewhere, and the next following day tu saya teringat information tu, but I don't really remember the value or the author of the paper. So it will be a waste of reading. Sebab semalam dah buat dah, tapi sebabnya saya tak jot down, saya lupa nak letak kat mana-mana, then I have to do it again. So make sure you find the best methods for you to organize all your data. Letak dalam folder ke semua papers, ataupun lately kita ada live punya Mendeley kan. So there's a pro and con Mendeley tu. Kalau yang online, sometimes you need a very good internet connections to use the online Mendeley. So another way of doing it is by by duplicating lah. Satu Mendeley tu, kalau nak guna Mendeley is free. That's why I will always mention Mendeley, sebab I know many of you will have access to Mendeley. So you might be able to use Mendeley easily because it's free. So there's two methods of using Mendeley tu. Dia ada online and also offline. So my advice is to use it and at the same time keep one folder for yourself untuk a list of literature review. Okay. So these are actually a key points I found from one paper. And then I will be focusing on, of course, a literature review will be different at different levels. Awak buat bachelor degree ke, awak buat master ataupun awak buat PhD. So for bachelor degree ataupun awak level awak sekarang ni, so the one that I mark in red square tu is what you should have. Essentially descriptive, topic focus, mostly indicative of main, current source of topic, analysis is of topic in terms of justifications. So if you can compare yang lain tu, of course dia lagi critical, analytical lagi. So these are the basic. If you're talking about literature review in whatever level, master ke PhD, this is what you will have as a structure of literature review. It will be like a pyramid ataupun cone yang terbalik, where the one on top tu yang paling banyak tu is actually the general before you go to specific. So how you do your writing ataupun how you do your research for your articles is start from the general topic dulu, baru pergi scientific ataupun pergi ke background, or you can look into example applications, keyword application dia, because that's among the thing that you should be writing in your sama ada introductions ataupun literature review. So look into the background dulu, the application, kat mana orang selalu guna, and how is it something that had been used. Kalau tak ada, cari something yang similar but have the almost the same applications, and then baru pergi ke supporting studies yang lebih detail. So you will start with introductions in literature review, and then awak akan pergi ke the background. What are the background of the work? Macam tadi lah, you're talking about the jigsaw puzzle tu kan. Your jigsaw puzzle is the one at the lowest point tu. So the rest tu is yang jigsaw puzzle yang banyak-banyak tu. So not necessary, mungkin awak nak ambil hujung dulu sikit and awak cerita background and then narrow the categories of research to something yang mungkin towards mula-mula selalunya lah the sequence will start with the application dia macam mana, what are the current scenario in market ke, the conventional methods ke, that are the things that will be the background. Lepas tu baru awak fokus. So what are you trying to do now? Material katalah, I will give a lot of example in materials. Materials tu dah berapa banyak orang guna dah. Selalunya orang guna untuk apa, and how they fabricate or how they create the materials. Saya akan discuss itu. And next you have to arrange lah, nak cerita pasal macam mana dibuat, the methods of fabrications, apa dia punya properties, the performance, before you go to your focus that you want to talk about. So this is the structure, the basic structure of literature review. Even if you're talking about master ataupun PhD, it will be the same structure. cone ataupun the pyramid yang terbalik ni. Before you go to the hypothesis statement, what are the things that make you creating the research topics? And then, okay, I think this will be the things that I want to stress on for your FYP1. What are the steps that you need to do in order for you to do literature review? It goes the same untuk FYP2. I think FYP2 ada juga FYP2 yang tak buat lagi literature review because they are focusing on proposal je hari tu, and dia langsung tak buat ni. Normally what I advise my student is to complete your chapter 1, 2, 3 in your FYP1. Bukan complete lah, at least almost a complete draft of chapter 1, 2, 3, and then you extract the information for your proposal. So that's the easiest way. You don't have to do two things. Satu sekali je buat, and then you can do both your draft for chapter 1, 2, 3 and also proposal. Tapi if you do things separately, maksudnya awak tak buat chapter 1, 2, 3 awak buat proposal dulu, then it will be hard for you to convert it into chapter 1, 2, 3 sebab proposal biasanya lebih pendek daripada chapter awak tu 1, 2, 3. It will be much better if you create chapter 1, 2, 3 yang lebih panjang, and then you extract a few information from there for your proposal. So what are the first thing that you have to do lepas ni? Find the literature. You need to find as much as possible for you before you proceed to your research work. And then step 2 is logging, cataloging, and also synthesize. Ada 3 benda dalam step 3 tu. Step 2 tu, sorry. Logging, once you find your literature, of course benda ni akan dijadi loop. Habis step 3, you might want to repeat balik step 1, 2, 3. It's a loop. And it's like never ending lah. Maksudnya pergi FYP2 pun nanti you will be doing the same circle, same rotations again and again. But then what you need to do first, cari literature. That's the first thing that you have to do. Go dig for any literature that related to your research work. The second one, bila dapat katalah ada at least as a start ada katalah 20 literatures that you have found dalam masa seminggu. Now what we have to do with the literature is to do logging, cataloging, and also synthesize the literature. The last steps is for you to do outlining and also write up, which means you're communicating your literature review. So I will be discussing step by step. So step 1 is to find the literature. So where and how to find the literature. So these are some of the things that you can use as literature. Don't ever use Wikipedia. If you want to use Wikipedia, if you realize kat Wikipedia tu pun dia ada reference dia, use that reference that they use in Wikipedia. Sebab Wikipedia tu can be written, can be done by anybody. You don't even know whether the information there is correct or not. So these are the 3 kind of literature that you should be using for your literature review. The first is book. That's the basic. Been used for like 100 years, books. So you have textbook. You can use dictionary to find definitions and some terms. Specialized book. Katalah ada handbook ke apa semua tu, and also reference book ni lebih kurang macam textbook juga So these are the things that you can do. So normally books ni kita guna untuk cari teori. It's more on theory, fundamental, selalunya dalam book. And then the next one yang paling awak akan search is the scientific journal. So we look into this as well. What are the methods that you can use to find a scientific journal? I think books, saya tak perlu cerita lah. We have e-book nowadays, ada library, and awak ada your supervisors ke kawan-kawan ke to borrow books. So but nowadays people use e-book. Some of the books can be easily and free access in the internet. Some. And then the last one is grey literature. So what is grey literature? So these are reports, thesis ataupun dissertation, conference proceeding, media reports, either it's magazines, newspaper, and then now ada patents, letters. Letters ni bukan surat macam tu tu. Letters kadang-kadang kalau tengok dalam certain scientific pun dia ada panggil letters. It's a short, normally di satu page macam tu je. They call it as letters, scientific letters. So these also, walaupun dia bukan dalam kategori books and also scientific journal, you can use it as a reference or your literature. So remember, there's only 3 types of literature that you can use for your literature review ataupun dalam reference, bukan literature review sajalah, dalam reference, any reference in your thesis. So book, scientific journal, and also the grey literature. Blog, apa-apa semua tu, unless awak cari information tak jumpa juga, you can, but it's not advisable to use sources in blog, page yang kita tak tahu siapa yang create, unless you know the author. Kalau macam page company semua tu okay, but then ada certain, I found a few blog yang quite informative, but then you don't know who is the writer, you don't know the credibility of the writer, it's just written there. So please try avoid using informations in those kind of places. And then still in find literature, where and how to find the literature. One of the easiest way to find literature is through the Google, or scientifically I might also say it as a Google Scholar. Google Scholar ramai yang tahu ke? Biasa guna ke? Google I tahu awak guna semua.
Tahu.
Tahu okay. So maksudnya semua pandai-pandai lah. So if I can just give you a basic introduction, kalau yang tak pernah tahu apa Google Scholar tu, it's where you find most scientific articles, Google Scholar. Cumanya kalau guna Google pun dia akan keluar je benda yang sama, almost benda yang sama. If I can show you contoh I don't know whether you can see my sekejap. Can you see my Chrome now?
No.
Okay. Sekejap I stop sharing and then I share again my okay. Here. Okay. Can you see my Google page now? Dekat Chrome.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is my Google page saja. Katalah saya nak cari pasal graphene, composite, and then coating. And then I search. So I will have a list of everything related to the keywords. So these are the keywords lah. Graphene, composite, and coatings are 3 keywords that I want to use untuk cari search engine guna Google ni. So if you realize dekat atas ni, selalunya kalau benda-benda yang related to scientific research, scientific informations ni, there will be a sections on top where you will see the words scholarly articles for graphene, composite, coating. Yang bawah ni pun ada juga, kadang-kadang benda yang sama je, tapi kat bawah ni it's not in the scholarly punya articles. So you will still see the same thing. Cumanya the benefit when you use this scholar Google if I can show you, pergi kat sini, Google Scholar ni, you will see all the articles only, scientific articles sahaja dalam Google Scholar ni. Nothing related to website company ke, blog ke, apa-apa semua takkan ada dalam Google Scholar. And the good things is you can find or you can set the time, the year where you want to find your literature review. Nanti saya akan cakap juga about years ni when you're looking for literature review. So you can find at least all the list here. You know that it's from a journal, a publishable journal. So lagi satu yang saya suka when I use Scholar, if you're not using Mendeley ke apa-apa, I can also use this. I go to this mark. Nampak ni mark yang ada, apa orang panggil ni? Code dia tu. Site tu. If you click there, you will see a few types of citation punya format. So you can set from here. If let's say kalau saya nak tulis short article, I will use these methods because it will be easier. Saya tak payah guna Mendeley ke apa-apa sebab reference saya takkan jadi banyak. Mungkin ada 20 or 30 saja. So what I will do is I will fix my methods, my format of references. Katalah saya nak guna Harvard. So I will just copy the Harvard, copy paste and then paste it somewhere that I probably have the list, and then just tutup. And then baru buka benda ni. Nanti later on I will tell you some of the free, accessible and not accessible articles. Ni kalau yang ni pun then I will just click there and then I will copy. Make sure you set from the very beginning which format for references that you want to use so that your work will be easier. Bolehlah haru biru awak punya references tu sekejap guna format APA, sekejap guna Harvard, sekejap guna Vancouver. Fix it from the very beginning. Kalau awak guna Mendeley ataupun EndNote tu selalu di attach dengan, I think EndNote kalau macam staff, we can get an EndNote from UiTM account. I'm not sure whether students I think student will have access to EndNote as well. Kalau ada, awak boleh explore whichever methods that you think easier and convenience to you. So these are one of the methods lah. Yang ni lebih macam bit conventional lah sebab awak kena copy satu-satu macam ni. Tapi but at least you have a methods of doing it. That's the reason why I like to use Google Scholar ni. Okay, so let me go back to my, mana tadi? Let me go back to my slides. Share balik. Where is it? Okay, here. Okay. So, one of the easiest way that you can find your literature is through the Google or the Scholar Google. This is the page. Kalau awak pergi kat Google Scholar, type Google Scholar, dia akan terus pergi kat page ni. Or you can just simply start from the Google. And then the other one that you can go to find the literature is in specific website. For example, kalau awak kata nak guna Science Direct, you just type Science Direct and then the Science Direct page akan buka and then you just type inside there. So Science Direct's Web of Science is normally a search engine yang very well known and valuable. Kadang-kadang yang dekat Google Scholar tu pun ada yang macam publisher yang tak berapa elok, and sometimes you will find a very bad quality of paper. But if you want a very good quality of paper, ada setengah macam orang yang buat master and PhD above ataupun dia nak buat papers, they will go directly to a specific journal yang dia tahu akan ada tajuk yang dia nak tu, because they know this kalau macam Science Direct and also Web of Science ni is an example of very well known search engine for articles, scientific articles, and also good and high quality papers. And then if you realize kalau awak dekat rumah especially, there will be some papers that you cannot access. You can only probably see the abstract ataupun some of the section. Dia tunjuk sikit introduction, dia tunjuk sikit methodology. That is because it is not an open access journal. So one of the way that you can do, especially when you're not in the UiTM, kalau dalam UiTM awak guna internet UiTM, normally you will have access to the journals yang UiTM bayar ataupun KPM bayar kan. But when you are at home, your search might be limited. So what you can do is you can go to the UiTM libraries, e-resources, and awak log in kat situ and find there will be an online databases and cari dalam tu. Dalam ni akan ada certain types of journals. You can also do that. Kalau ada papers that you cannot access, you cannot read. And then the third one, for you to find literature, the easiest way is thesis. So thesis kalau dekat UiTM, I think it's printed. Kalau yang baru-baru ni, I'm not sure whether they have online access to a thesis. But I know some overseas universities, they have macam a place for them, for everybody to search for a thesis. So a thesis is one of the good way for you to see how people arrange their literature reviews. At least kalau ada guideline tu, you know where to start and what to look into. So it can be a printed, mungkin awak punya supervisor ada thesis lama yang related to the project, or it can also be online. Macam kata, I think dalam Malaysia, most of it is not open access. So the overseas, there are many universities are doing it. I think dekat UK memang ada satu tempat macam UK e-thesis, if I'm not mistaken. Kalau awak Google akan jumpa, biasanya dalam tu you can have access to most of thesis from various university. And then another one on the still doing finding literature, yang tadi yang saya tunjuk sebelum ni is for you to find literature. Okay, awak dapat satu paper memang very closely related to what you want to do. Awak akan baca daripada biasanya you'll start with abstract and see whether it relevant to your need or not. Kalau baca-baca tu tengok, oh this is more on katalah ada mathematical semua tu, it's not related to what you want to do, then stop reading it. Don't waste your time reading something that will not be related to what you want to do. So my advice is to do a search macam using the methods that I've mentioned just now, and then read the abstract first. Sometimes ada benda yang awak nak baca, ada benda yang awak tak nak baca. So katalah macam saya baca-baca ni, okay, I just want to know about the properties. So I will read only on the results sections. It will be like a focus reading lah. But there are also papers yang saya memang nak read daripada mula introduction sampai habis. So when I say that katalah awak buat satu hari 10 paper, it's not necessary that you have to read from A to Z on all 10 papers. It might be some of the papers memang awak baca daripada mula sampai habis. Some of the papers you want only to read the methodology. Some of the papers you want to read on the results and discussions. So you know your needs when you find your papers. Not necessarily that you have to read the whole papers. Most students find it so burden to read the whole thesis tu kalau dia, papers tu, articles tu, kalau dia tak related langsung, especially when it doesn't relate to what you're doing at all at a certain section. Katalah, saya tak nak baca langsung pasal methods tu because it's not the methods that I'm going to use. But I want to know what are the properties of the materials because materialnya sama. So don't bother wasting your time reading on sections that you're not interested to. Mungkin boleh guna juga informations tu later on because you also need to remember about the puzzle tu. Puzzle tu bukan puzzle awak je, awak kena cari yang keliling dia. So mungkin awak akan ada juga kena mention materials ni also had been produced using methods tapi tak ada discuss in detail. So that's the functions of some of the sections yang awak tak nak baca detail but you just need to know. Okay, so not necessarily ada orang kata jenuh lah nak baca sampai 20 paper satu hari. That is not what people have been doing. People will only read on the sections that they want to read saja. Okay, so it won't be a burden actually kalau awak nak kata satu hari nak baca 20 paper pun. Okay, another one that you can use a method to do your literature review is by using the methods of so-called snowballing journal articles. So what is snowballing journal article? Dia macam if you know a snowball tu, kalau dia roll tu, makin lama roll tu dia akan the size of the ball, the snowball akan jadi besar kan. So that it will happens to your article. Or read satu article, katalah ni saya bagi contoh, dan saya tunjuk arrow tu, it's actually one paper, the first paper that I read. So dalam paper tu, I'm so interested with one statement there. And important contributions of the sintered porous bearing was demonstrated by Raman and Vinod Banu. The words there, I'm so interested to know about the sintered bearing kat situ. So what I have to do next, saya tak perlu go to search engine tadi balik ataupun Google balik. Saya akan move from there. I will look into this, nampak number 6 tu, I will go to reference number 6. So the second step you look underneath read the articles tu is go look into the references in the articles. Ada satu paper, kalau ada satu paper on certain topic, baca dekat page first tu, dia tulis tu, and then there's an author, Raman and Vinod Banu, nombor 6. So what you do next is go to the references, find the paper number 6. So that paper number 6 is what I highlighted there, which is Raman, Vinod. The topic of the paper is test on sintered bearing with reduced oil contents. Where? So that is the paper that I will be looking next. So saya akan search that paper pula. I will just copy the test on sintered bearing ni, I will copy. I will paste in katalah Google Scholar yang saya guna tadi. And then it will be repeated. And then end up your articles will be the snowball. Dia akan jadi makin banyak. By just looking at, started from one articles. So there's a few methods. Yang tadi saya tunjuk tadi, methods dia is you Google and then awak baca mungkin the first one you see, the second one, the third one. But this methods is called snowballing. You start with one article saja and you continue searching for the next literature based on the paper. So that is what called as snowballing journal articles. Okay, still in find literature lagi, tak habis lagi. Where and how to find? Identify the keywords. The keywords is very important. You need to know what you're going to look into. If you use wrong keywords, of course awak akan jumpa benda yang salah. So make sure you know what are the keywords for your research work. What are you looking for? At one time mungkin awak tak akan dapat semua benda. Macam tadi saya cakap, yang saya Google tu graphene composite coating. So that is on materials only. So what I will find is only the materials, focusing on materials. Mungkin next saya nak material yang sama, but then I want the same process that I'm going to use, electrodeposition. So saya akan tambah satu perkataan electrodeposition there, and I will get limited. The more keywords you have, the lesser outcome that you will get. Itu basic lah kan. So kalau awak letak satu keywords, of course the number of outcome dia akan lagi banyak. So if you increase the keywords, dia akan jadi kurang-kurang lagi. So identify what are the keywords that you need to use. It's very important to know the right keywords to search into. So another one that I want to highlight here is it is best to have the most recent 5 years articles. So if now we are in 2021, find something yang back at least further sampai 2017. Of course you can still find something yang older than that, 2016 ke 15 ke 2000 ke 1990 berapa semua boleh. There's no wrong of doing that. Cuma make sure you have more literature on the recent years articles. Jangan nanti cari-cari tengok ni semua 2000 pula 90 katalah 2000 lah, okay, 2000 tahun 2000 2009 2005 tak ada langsung yang paling recent. It shows that you are not actually looking into the right research gap awak tu. Mungkin yang recent ni orang dah tak buat dah. It's not relevant anymore. So one of the keywords that you have to know yang saya mention just now untuk literature review is relevancy dia. Is it still relevant ataupun benda tu orang tak guna dah? So that's the reason why you have to find the most recent literature available. But of course you can still use older literature. Sebab kadang-kadang ada theories, ada ideas yang memang keluar masa tahun certain tahun. So you need to you can still use all those articles, but make sure the majority of your articles is the recent 5 years articles. So that's the reason, that's the benefit if you're using Google Scholar tadi. On your left tu dia ada tahun kan, you can select from katalah 2017 and onwards katakan. So that's how you use Google Scholar to find the most recent articles. Next, the second one is on the second step in how to do literature review ni is on logging, cataloging and also synthesize. So what is logging, cataloging and also synthesize? We'll start with logging first. Okay, this is, I think I've mentioned this as well. So you have to decide what kind of citation manager you want to use to log all your articles. Nah, awak ada banyak artikel ni, semua ada. Ada berapa puluh kat atas meja ni, dah print out semua. Ataupun awak tak print out, awak simpan as a soft copy dalam satu folder. You cannot just leave it as it is. You need to log it using certain methods. So these are some of the citation manager available dalam Google yang selalu orang commonly use. But I think I have used EndNote previously and I've used Mendeley. Dua ni je yang saya pernah guna. Yang lain saya tak familiar langsung. EndNote is available with words. So kalau dalam UiTM ni, I think you can for staff, I think it goes the same with to student as well. You can request for them to install EndNote for you under academic punya account tu. So you can use EndNote which will be in words. That's the thing I like about EndNotes, but dia terus ada dalam words. The other options, which is quite famous, is Mendeley. Mendeley ni memang free, you just need to Google, install it in your PC, ataupun the best way is to install in your PC lah supaya awak ada online and also offline punya data. Kalau awak ada online saja, then you might find it difficult, especially when you don't have access to internet. So Mendeley dia ada offline and offline. So install and still kena belajar. Memang kena, tak boleh macam directly tahu benda ni. Memang it will take some time for you to get used to whichever methods that you want to use. But still you need to find methods to log all your articles. Dia tak boleh terbiar macam tu je. Kalau tidak, it will be a waste to all your readings. Awak tak tahu kat mana, awak tak dah baca tapi tak jumpa cari. It happens to me at my early years of doing master. So masa bachelor dulu tak ada benda-benda ni. Master, yes, dah ada semua benda ni, but I'm not familiar with it, and what happens is I miss and I lost a lot of data that I have read. Sebabnya saya tak ingat letak mana, and benda tu ada tapi saya tak tahu saya label as apa. It will happens if you don't do logging. The second one that you need to do once you get all your literature, dah lepas log, what you need to do is cataloging. Ni macam ni yang tunjuk kat situ kan, library punya, kalau dulu kita ada library punya card tu kan. So all the library cards tu disusun ikut kategori ke, ikut nama ke kan. So they have methods to cataloging the books. It goes the same with your literature or the articles that you have read. You need to do something to catalog all the articles. Dah logging elok, then what you need to do is to catalog. So one of the, I think there's several methods that people have used, but one of the, to me, one of the easiest way to do cataloging is by using the Excel sahaja. So you can create tables macam ni, saya bagi ni. So cataloging is actually sorting all your articles based on certain criteria. So the first one katalah on your left ni, saya letak number. Ni dalam Excel ni, I created it using Excel. Number, references, this one is the one that I copied from the code yang dekat Google Scholar tu. And then I put year. I will normally put year here because that's how I can see whether I have enough articles on the recent years or not. Tengok, ini pun dah lama kan, 2013. And then the first thing I want to know, my concern is the type of graphene composite coating. So the first paper yang saya baca, it's on nickel graphene. I don't search for nickel graphene ke. The terms that I search tadi, yang sama yang saya tunjuk kat awak tu, is actually on graphene composite coating sahaja. So that is my keywords. But I found one of the papers that I found is on nickel graphene. So the types of graphene, saya tulis nickel graphene. And the first table sini, saya nak tahu dia punya properties saja, the characterizations. So I will just go there and find the most related results yang dia presented dalam paper ni. So the one related and I'm going to use is UV-Vis. So saya akan guna UV-Vis, saya nak tahu results dia, the UV-Vis macam mana. So I copy, selalunya bukan copy, selalunya saya print screenshot. Ya, kalau guna komputer dia ada snipping tool kan. Snipping tool and paste here, and I will just write down what are the results. UV absorption peak dekat mana, shifted to berapa. And then the other one is results that I find it probably related to what I'm going to do is on FCIR. So this is the results. I'll just jot down what are the values. And then I want to create another tables. ni akan of course it will be continued. Kalau saya jumpa paper lagi yang related to I think the properties yang related to what I'm going to do, I will put in this table. Another table that I have is on the methods of preparations. If you can see number sama, references saya still put this one actually nombor 2 tu lain dua paper yang berlainan. Year, the first one 2013, 2015, the types of graphing composite is the same. Nasib tiba-tiba masa yang search tu dapat benda yang sama, nickel graphene. The one I want to know dekat table ni is on the methods of preparations. The first methods is on was using electrodeposition, so saya tulis electrodeposition. The second one is using double pulse electrodeposition. So it keeps, and I will look into balik all my literature. Selalunya benda ni awak boleh buat while you do readings. You don't have to collect and then kumpul semua baru tulis. Then it will be quite tedious sebab dah ada banyak sangat kan. So the best is baca satu paper and decide which table you want to put in the data and then continue with the second paper. Yang benda ni macam ni yang selalu ambil masa sikit, not reading, because if you read without taking the notes and identify the information you need, tak guna juga, because you will lost all the informations. So make sure awak tulis benda ni. Ini pun one of the things that I regretted earlier. I don't do this. Saya memang boleh je, saya jot down je, saya conteng-conteng dekat note saya punya logbook. That's the reason why you have logbook So I normally have a daily logbook. Hari ni saya buat apa? Start with reading papers on apa saya tulis semua saya tulis. I don't have this methods of cataloging yang proper lah. Itu boleh consider as cataloging juga, tapi not a proper one. So saya jot down apa katalah Kumar ni paper dia buat nickel graphene. But then one of the things that I cannot do is macam mana saya nak copy paste, takkan saya nak gunting paper and lekat dalam buku saya kan. I cannot do that, so saya just tulis je dia punya informations. When I want to do the writing later on, I don't remember which day. Saya boleh je, kalau saya ingat hari apa, saya pergi je kat logbook saya tu, because I jot down my logbook every day. Logbook untuk katalah hari ni hari Rabu. So I will just jot down. If I remember when I read it, I can just simply go there, go to the date and then look into the information that I have written there. But normally you won't remember when did you read the paper. Awak ingat dah baca dah, but I don't know when is it. It should be last week tapi tak ingat hari apa. And you take sometimes to go through your logbook balik. And that is time consuming. So this is the best way that I found. Kalau saya dengan student saya pun, I would advise them to do this first. This will be like macam awak punya plan lah dulu, what you're going to write later on. So this is called as cataloging. You sort all your articles that you have. The next one is synthesize. So yang ni yang memerlukan kepala otak sikit. So sekarang dah ada berapa banyak table ni? Ada 10 table. So what you need to do? This is the time you need to figure out. Akan ada berapa banyak section. Okay, yang ni boleh nak masukkan jadi satu subsection. Yang ini akan jadi satu subsection. Ini akan jadi satu section. Then you can actually masa ni imagine what will be the contents of your literature review. You can do some people, some researcher, they do mind mapping, buat macam ni, okay lepas tu apa, okay juga kan. So it's up to you which methods best to you. So some people dia build structure, dia tengok apa yang dia ada, macam saya ada katalah ada 5 table. So what are the contents of the table? Mungkin saya nak cerita pasal the properties dulu. Lepas tu saya at least I know, if I don't know the sequence, but I know what will be in the literature review. Akan ada contents of the properties. Property pun ada banyak. What are the properties inside there? And then the methods of deposition. And then apa-apa lagi lah yang saya ni, type of graphene composite. So that will be the times where you have to sit down and think of all the outcomes. Sekarang dah ada dah semua ni. Macam mana nak susun dia? So that will be the end of step 2. Logging, cataloging, and so synthesize. The final one will be outlining and also write out. So what is outlining? Of course, sekarang dia dah tahu dah, saya ada ni, saya ada ni, saya ada ni, saya ada ni. Now you need to put it in a proper sequence. So normally what I advise my students to do is to start with your table of contents dulu. Macam kata literature review awak dalam chapter 2 kan. So normally lah 2.1 will be introduction. So introduction tu macam nak start dulu lah, bagi bunga-bunga apa. And 2.2, what are the things that I want to talk about first. Pergi balik dekat point yang awak buat tu, yang tadi tu, yang awak buat synthesize tu. What are the points yang ada? Yang mana rasa-rasa logik? So this is like playing a jigsaw puzzle juga ni. Because sometimes some of the sequence mungkin awak akan tukar later on. Oh, yang ni tak sesuai dekat atas, kena letak kat bawah. And how to do that is by looking back at the complete draft that you have done, and then you can also of course find advice from your supervisor. Biasanya supervisor dia akan dapat tengok, okay, ni sesuai kat sini, sesuai ni. So there's no right or wrong in the sequence. Cuma as long as you follow the shape of cone and also the pyramid tu, then it will be good enough. Sebab like I mentioned just now, it's like storytelling. Awak of course bila bercerita, you will cerita yang besar dulu before you do focusing. So the last sections katalah 2.4, 2.5 tu mungkin more focusing on what you're going to do. Yang atas tu mungkin macam saya cari graphene kan, graphene composite. So atas tu mungkin pasal graphene, types of graphene composite yang ada. Belum pergi lagi dekat apa yang saya nak cakap, because what I'm doing is related to nickel graphene. So kat atas tu mungkin I can talk about the other types of graphene composite yang available or that had been studied by other researchers. That will be on top sections. Sampai like saya fokus. So dah berapa orang dah pernah buat nickel ni? Mungkin ada combinations of different combination. Tapi they are using different methods. So methods tu pun yang atas tu mungkin you can discuss many types of methods yang available or people have used. But yang kat bahagian bawah, you can start focusing on your own methods that you want to use and details. Macam mana benda tu dibuat? Because later on, that's the thing or that's the point that you need to carry into your methodology. So that's the reason kenapa saya cakap this literature review actually relates to all chapters that you have. If you can start building your literature review, then you should be able to write your introduction, methodology tu. Orang akan tanya, why are you using those parameters? Why are you choosing the methods? Then how to answer it is by looking back at your literature review. Result discussion pun sama. It will relate directly and also indirectly. Kalau bila awak cerita result awak macam ni, and this is similar to what had been reported by siapa, katalah Ali, on a project on a synthesis of ataupun fabrications of apa-apa. And how do you know that? It's actually from your literature review. So all these chapters will relate back to chapter 2, which is the literature review. Although the sequence dia akan jadi chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sampai hujung. But normally you will start with literature review dulu, baru awak boleh tulis introduction sebenarnya. Because introductions is where you write your background, general ideas, your objective. Objektif awak pun sebenarnya dapat daripada literature review awak, because that is where you find your problem statement and gap analysis of your research. And then finally, lepas dah outline, of course awak dah ada draft. And of course draft tu boleh tukar-tukar pun. Katakan 2.3 rasa tiba-tiba the sequence nampak macam odd sikit, so that 2.3 can be moved to 2.2, yang 2.2 tu turun ke bawah. As long as you have the draft, you can start from building the table of contents dulu, then you should be able to write smoothly later on. And later on dah dapat draft semua, then you can start writing up. And you don't have to get it right the first time. Sebenarnya you should get the right things at the first time sebenarnya kan. Tapi when you do writing, you don't have to get it right at the first time. Just write whatever you think that come out from your mind. Sebab writing ni dia tak boleh betul at one write up je. Dia akan kena lepas tu tengok balik. So whatever you have in mind, tulis je. Whether it's grammatically correct or wrong, tulis saja. That's how people do writing. If you can see tesis yang besar-besar tu, it had been through how many drafts, dah nak sampai 100 draft kot. And you can never do that without starting on something. So just start writing whatever you have in mind. Later on, of course, janganlah hantar macam tu je, pening supervisor nak check. Muntah-muntah check writing yang huru-hara dia punya tu. Have a read back. Kalau awak baca, awak rasa tenang tak? Awak rasa faham tak ayat dia? So if you can easily understand and get the flow, then baru awak boleh submit. And my advice, another one, is to use Grammarly. The free one tu pun dah, at least you can detect the basic grammatical error from your draft using words. So I think that's the end of my presentation today. I wish you all the best. The key to success is to start before you are ready. So you don't need to be ready pun nak buat apa-apa lagi. Just need to start. So how you want to start is by doing your literature review first. Doing that 3 step yang saya cakap tadi tu. That 3 step need to be done first before you can proceed to another stage. And of course it needs to be continuous. Maksudnya bukan okay saya dah siap literature review, no such thing. Selagi awak tak hantar tesis awak, there's no such thing as saya dah siap literature review. Okay. Thank you so much for your time and also your attention. Just I open the floor for Q&A. Kalau ada apa-apa nak tanya. Belum faham je.
Doktor.
Yes.
Apa doktor tunjuk cara buat literature review kan? Contoh dia mana?
Yang mana yang contoh? Writing ke? Writing tak adalah kat sini. Yang saya tunjuk tu yang Excel tadi lah. Ini Excel tu ke awak nak tu, ataupun awak nak tengok contoh literature review yang betul literature
review.
Oh, mana boleh. Literature review will be different. There will be no same structure of literature review because awak ni you are doing various topic macam-macam. But the structure that I can give you macam tadi lah saya kata. It should start with introduction, lepas tu background, lepas tu kecilkan lagi scope to narrower categories, lepas tu baru pergi to what you really want to do, research. So there's no, saya tak boleh nak tunjuk any macam contoh. Kalau awak nak contoh my areas, then I can just give you my student thesis ataupun saya punya thesis. Or you can just simply Google and then baca je, tapi there will be no same ataupun standard arrangement of literature review for everybody here because you're doing research in various areas.
Okay. Saya. Doktor.
So maksudnya kena baca, kena start susun dulu. Yang saya kata start that 3 step dulu. Baru awak tahu what you should be doing next. Of course awak kena ada reference macam sebab tu saya kata one of the reference that you can use is by looking at the thesis. Kalau awak baca artikel saja, artikel biasanya literature review dia pendek je kan. So it might be limited. The best way for you to look into kalau awak rasa awak dah nak start writing ni, cari tesis yang tajuk yang bukanlah tajuk, area lebih kurang sama and see how they arrange. Yang tu kena buat dulu, maksudnya awak kena buat draft dulu, the table of contents. Nak start dengan apa? Introductions is a common start lah, so introduction dulu. Lepas introduction tu nak buat apa? Nak tulis pasal apa? So there's no rules, there's no standard ataupun format that you should be following untuk literature review tu.
Satu lagi doktor, saya tanya, kalau continuing daripada tesis senior yang lama, yang tu nak cakap macam mana ya?
Boleh je, maksudnya literature review awak lagi senang. Look into what your seniors have done. Awak upgrade je daripada situ. Apa lagi, dia mungkin dia buat katalah 2 tahun lalu ataupun setahun yang lalu ataupun last semester kan. So daripada situ apa lagi tambahan yang awak boleh buat. So normally kalau projek yang macam tu, it will be much easier for the students because awak dah nampak dah. Contoh tesis pun dah ada. So your arrangement of writing tu dah boleh at least almost similar, boleh jadikan dia guideline. But of course you need to upgrade the contents. Kena cari lagi. Mungkin masa dia cari tu, dia cari sampai 2020 je. So when you look when you guna Google Scholar ke whatever search engine tu, you have to include the latest one. So mungkin the major difference between yours and your senior is the latest literature review yang awak include.
Alright,
kalau ada senior memang honestly I would say your work will be much easier. Cuma ada orang dia suka buat benda lain. Macam saya ada student dulu datang to me and he wanted to do his own project yang saya tak pernah buat, yang tak ada orang buat pun. Dia memang interested nak buat benda tu, then I will just guide macam mana nak buat thesis and macam mana nak collect data a proper way for your FYP. So ada orang dia ada interest macam tu. But if you have a topic and ada senior dah buat, then it will be your times untuk create structure tu dah berkurang lah because you have a good reference already. Itu pun belum tentu yang itu good reference kan, but at least you have a reference to see how they do arrangement and what to look into. Okay, ada lagi apa? Ada orang? Alamak.
Okay, thank you Dr. Nick. Okay, saya rasa
Salbi.
student FYP 2 memang as per what Dr. Nick kata lah, benda ni continuously tau, dia bukan berhenti pada FYP 1 tau literature review. So what I can see lah, observation macam untuk FYP 1 maybe you kena banyak cari artikel and everything, apa ke, in order to establish you punya objective, you punya method. Tetapi bila in terms of FYP 2, once you dapat you punya experimental simulation ke, you akan still refer to literature review in order to justify you punya result to it, dan to make discussion lah, referring to those latest, if possible, latest research lah yang akan dapat daripada articles lah from your literature review. So actually macam saya advise student macam during FYP 1 lah, buat macam Dr. Nick buat tu yang ada Excel table tu, you grab banyak all the information related and if lah, let's say contoh macam paper apa you punya project tu simulation kan, kata you guna simulation CATIA, tapi you punya what I can see literature review tu adalah satu on the simulation, jenis simulation tu macam maybe tak ada orang buat CATIA, you buat before this ada SolidWorks ke, you ambil juga, you boleh refer. Lepas tu you punya maybe method dia buat objek yang jadi bahan apa kajian tu lah pun boleh cari literature review. So literature review ni banyak tau, bukannya macam macam tadi yang tanya tu kan, nak tengok contoh kan.
Contoh tak ada.
Tak
ada ni.
Dia tak ada satu yang konkret.
Honestly memang susah, memang bukan senang pun tulis literature review.
Ya, betul.
Kita sampai sekarang dah berapa tahun buat research pun I honestly said that it's not easy to do literature review, tapi with time insyaAllah you can at least do what you can do best untuk your level.
Setuju. Dia sebenarnya apa persoalan yang pada saya lah, apa persoalan yang you hadapi macam macam mana kata nak define method, katakan nak guna material apa, so semua benda tu you memang kena cari lah information which can be your literature review. That's my opinion lah.
Ya, kalau ada tesis memang senang lah
Lebih
sikit
senang
kerja
lah.
kan. Sebab daripada tengok ada reference, because I would say tesis will be the closest reference that you can use that might be that might be useful untuk jadi guidance for your writing lah, kalau untuk writing tu. Sebab kalau papers, articles yang kita baca tu it's in different format. Dia tak panjang. Tesis dia mesti lagi detail, mesti lagi discussions-nya mesti lagi in depth. Kalau papers tak macam tu, tapi if you can find a thesis, that's why thesis is also one of the reference that you can use. Cari reference from thesis yang almost similar to what you're going to do, use that as reference. Ambil satu dua ke yang paling ni, bukan kata tiru apa yang dia tulis, but at least the sequence is there. Awak dah nampak dah flow dah. Oh, dia start with benda ni, dia cerita benda ni dulu, dia cerita benda ni dulu. And that is how you're going to plan for your own thesis. Dia tak akan jadi exactly the same. Even you have seniors yang buat last semester pun, you cannot do exactly the same with what your seniors have done. Nanti awak punya turnitin memang sama sebiji lah dengan apa yang dia buat.
Ini kena ingat tau, kalau nak guna thesis tu bukan you tengok thesis dia bahagian literature review thesis itu tau. The whole thesis tu you kena baca dan you kena jadikan literature review. Tu dua benda yang berbeza tau.
Dia ada dua lah guideline dia, sama ada you use it as a reference untuk menulis, ataupun satu lagi, that outcome yang orang tu dapat, your senior dapat tu is your literature review.
Puan, saya ada soalan Puan. After conclusion kita akan bagi macam satu suggestion in our thesis tu kan?
Recommendation lah kan.
Okay, recommendation tu, is it saya boleh letak dalam literature review sedikit?
You can relate actually. Kadang-kadang bila awak baca literature review tu, you will realize something but you might not have time ataupun capability to do. That is the reason, that is one of the the good things of when you do literature review ni, sebab awak nampak kerja orang and awak tahu these are things yang tak boleh buat sekarang, katalah because of time limitation ataupun facilities limitation, awak tak boleh buat, but then you keep the information later on sampai towards the end awak buat recommendations awak for to use katalah methods ni ataupun to use equipment ni to analyse data macam ni. But you don't have to quote balik lah. Tak perlu pun quote paper yang awak dah baca tu. Kalau dalam recommendation biasanya is on our own recommendation. Kita tak tulis quotation biasanya dalam, maksudnya kita tak quote kerja orang dalam tu, tapi you can get information for recommendation from the literature review.
Faham pun. Thank you pun.
Okay. Lagi ke ada dalam chatbox ah? Saya tak tengok chatbox.
Puan Selvia, pasal logbook yang minggu lepas Puan cerita tu, is it saya kena mergekan logbook untuk FYP 1 dengan FYP 2 together?
Oh tak, for FYP 2, FYP 2 sajalah. Cuma
Maknanya-
format tu you carry on FYP 1 punya format lah.
Okay, understood Puan.
So, yes, actually what sebab saya FYP 2. So you whatever from week 1 of FYP 2 lah untuk you present pada you punya SB lah.
Oh, waktu present tu saya present dua-dua lah.
No bukan, maknanya mungkin akan ada meeting lah dengan SB awak kan. Tunjuk lah. Ataupun maybe ada certain SB macam ada suruh hantar by email ke apa kan, you hantar lah. Kalau SB awak tu terlupa, kadang pensyarah dia agak busy. Macam saya pun saya busy tapi saya minta kat student macam you hantar je maybe like 2 weeks. Sebulan 2 kali ke hantar lah. At least hantar free-free saya akan baca. Tapi saya takkan buat apa-apa but buat logbook ni penting adalah kita nak tahu student tengah buat apa. Okey, daripada situ kita tahu dia ni ada progress ke, tak ada progress ke, dia sangkut kat mana. So whatever sketches or whatever macam katalah even macam English literature review paper, kadang kita baca-baca kita lupa kan. Jadi macam maybe you boleh jot down the name ke apa ke inside the logbook. So actually logbook tu is whatever job yang you ada, you buat sketch ke or apa-apa, just put inside that. Pada saya lah, that is for me. Mungkin ada orang lain interpretation logbook dia tu. You
Sepatutnya
kena
semua dah tahu ni, dah pergi LI.
macam LI. Tapi tak tahu lah ada
LI dia ada template, but then sebenarnya logbook ni tak perlu pun template. Kalau tapi at least dah ada idea kan what actually logbook should contain kan.
Betul.
Ada berapa lagi?
Saya rasa of all the chapters inside your thesis, literature review ni adalah pada saya sangat kritikal lah. So please jangan stop FYP 2, you kata you nak buat fabrication lah kan. Tapi again macam you akan refer balik all the papers yang you guna, yang you cari, you tengok masa FYP 1 ni untuk you guna to be reference dalam discussion. Kenapa you dapat macam ni? So maybe you boleh tengok paper-paper sebelum tu, tengok mungkin dia dapat result A, kita dapat B tapi mungkin parameter tu berbeza. So you can discuss on that. At least bila discussion ni untuk FYP 2 ni, dia bukan discussion tu is not kata graf tu menaik, graf tu menurun tau. No. It should be justification. It should be the justification. Nak tahu mana justification, kena baca banyak macam thesis, research paper, books untuk support you punya finding. So it's ongoing lah sampai you hantar thesis macam Dr. Nick cakap.
Betul.
Itu my advice, buatlah draft, a proper draft masa FYP 1. Tak percaya tanya yang dah FYP 2 tu, menyesal tak buat FYP 1 literature review.
Betul.
Because literature review bukan senang. It's not easy as writing. So you need time. Kalau FYP 1 tu still ada masa yang tak stress sangat, tak perlu dapatkan result lagi. It's a time where you can spend more time on reading and planning on your draft.
Okay, pada saya untuk FYP 1 lah, kalau saya panel FYP 1, saya akan tengok kalau saya my preference untuk tengok presentation student in terms of literature review adalah base macam table yang Dr. Nick buat tu. Pada saya lah, that is much more. Bukannya you punya presentation slide tu literature review or what is contoh graphene, okay, what is molding, no, that is not literature review pada saya. Literature review is research ataupun knowledge yang terkini tentang you punya subject tu lah. So it's better for you to make it in the table macam yang tadi Dr. Nick tunjuk literature review plus another thing yang kita tengok adalah macam saya suruh student saya letak lagi satu kolom on the relevancy to your topic. Kata macam you tengok paper yang tadi tu, oh this is interval material. So you boleh relevancy to relationship to your topic adalah the options of materials to be considered. Something macam tu lah. Pada saya lah, but maybe ada orang lain kot preference. But kalau panelnya saya akan request untuk you buat macam table tadi tu, lebih senang. Dan kita tengok student boleh faham ke tidak, maybe you boleh summarize. Just take one short summary on the literature research paper yang you dapat ataupun thesis yang you tengok.
Dr. Zainal ada lagi? Ada apa-apa lagi?
Assalamualaikum Doktor.
Salam.
Okey je.
Nak tanya untuk yang Mendeley kan, kalau logging tu kita kena buat sendiri ke ataupun Mendeley boleh kita boleh buat dalam Mendeley?
Yang macam mana?
Logging tu.
Login kita login account kita sendiri kan?
Register
Kan kita buat cataloging
Oh,
tu.
cataloging tu cataloging kita kena buat sendiri. Sini tak tahulah kot kalau Mendeley ada, mungkin ada kot advance tapi saya tak pernah explore. Sebab Mendeley ni sebenarnya banyak benda dia boleh buat tapi I have never explore. Saya guna itu sekejap but I change it to EndNote finally. Tapi saya tahu Mendeley banyak benda dia boleh buat. Cuma awak kena belajar apa yang dia boleh buat. Dia mungkin ada proper way of organizing references but I've never used any. Saya sempat guna setakat masuk itu pun saya banyaklah hilang link lah, tak proper sikit kan lah.
So kalau EndNote dengan Mendeley kita boleh guna sekali ke? Tak pun kita
Don't
satu
ever. Satu saja. If you want to use Mendeley, stick to Mendeley. Ada orang memang dia prefer Mendeley. Dia dah start dengan Mendeley, then turning it to something else will be a disaster lah. Kalau awak nak start with nak EndNote, start from the very beginning, EndNote sahaja, tak tukar-tukar. Kalau nak Mendeley, then Mendeley sampai hujung because benda tu melibatkan a huge number of data kan. So if you change in the middle of your research work, then it will be a disaster. Huge disaster tu kalau references ni.
So on format guna IEEE pun boleh kan instead of APA.
Saya rasa UiTM setakat ni tak ada fix apa-apa format kan Dr. Sabia dengan Dr. Zainal untuk
FYP 2 kita kena IGPE.
Oh, okey lah. Tapi kalau kena
Yeah.
check jugalah yang mana. Tapi kalau tak ada to me yang mana-mana pun nampak okey je because as long as it's the same format daripada satu sampai hujung tu. Ada orang dia campur habis semua. Kejap dia guna APA lah, kejap dia guna ni, kejap dia guna ni. Sebab tak guna method kan.
Syahadah FYP 2 ke FYP 1?
Syahadah ni syahadah
Saya
PhD.
tanya je.
Syahadah PhD.
Oh ya ke? Okey. Sebab
Kalau FYP from my experience lah kan, FYP di UiTM ni so far memang prefer guna IEEE.
it depends on sebenarnya depends macam kalau interval level FYP lah, depends on format yang nak guna kan. Macam sekarang ni macam kita punya assessment technical report, so technical report tu kita nak liaise pula dengan yang BEP kan, our orang kata internal sorang to be regional tu, so kita stick to IEEE sebab nak sekali dengan CMAG.
Nak standardize kan semua.
Nak standardize kan, so kita guna IEEE. Tapi macam saya personally PhD saya guna apa?
Kan nampak simple, senang.
So it depends, nak ikut you punya SP kot, nak guna mana.
Saya recommend guna Mendeley berbanding EndNote.
Saya tengok orang peminat Mendeley is here, so dia mesti tahu keistimewaan Mendeley. Orang yang guna Mendeley dia akan tahulah semua keistimewaan. But kalau saya tak pernah guna Mendeley ni, I love EndNote sampai ke hujungnya.
EndNote simpan data dalam laptop.
Yes. Dia tak ada online, yes.
Okay, Mendeley dia
Dr. Zainal.
simpan dua-dua.
Yes, ada orang.
Masuk.
Ada orang tanya ke?
Doktor, thank you.
Okay.
Siapa tanya tadi? Ulang
Itulah.
balik.
Awak tanya ke memanggil-manggil? Semua dah ni dah tu. Dah tepu, tak tahan. Nak pergi cari makanan buka puasa. Semua dah ni lah tu.
Last soalan. Last soalan.
Ada ke?
Tak ada daripada chatbox ada ni. Kalau chatbox
Tak ada dah, semua dah terbang kat mana dah ni? Kat bazar.
Okay.
Boleh saya tanya?
Okay. Ada orang tanya. Mesti orang lain bengang.
Untuk penggunaan Mendeley dengan Eno tu, itu kita orang kena present juga nanti. So
Tak
sekadar
ada.
untuk guna sendiri je.
Itu kegunaan. Dia maksudnya macam mana awak nak logkan data banyak, artikel banyak-banyak tu. Itu salah satu cara. Sebab kita, kalau bila artikel kita banyak, kalau setakat 10 je tak apa, awak boleh letak dalam folder, awak simpan, awak tengok satu-satu kan. Tapi bila banyak ni, you need a manager. So manager dia sama ada tu lah Mendeley ataupun EndNote lah yang paling well known dekat dalam Malaysia ni. Dia akan tolong susun, dia akan tolong arrangekan macam mana keluar. Dia terus keluarkan list references untuk awak. If you use Mendeley ataupun EndNote. Okay, tak ada record.
Alright. So, kita setakat tu je lah soalan-soalan daripada kamu semua. Nanti kan kalau ni kan tak habis pula. Saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada kita punya presenter, Dr. Nik Roslina. So saya harap para pelajar semua Fyp1, Fyp2 ambil manfaat. Terutama pasal literature review ni, dia memang daripada mula sampai habis. Sampai kamu write ending, kamu punya thesis digunakan. Right, so it's very crucial lah. So saya harap semua ambil manfaat. Sebelum tu jangan lupa sign attendance Fyp1 dan Fyp2. Sebab bila saya klik habis je ni, nanti kan habis attendance. Alright. So gunakan sekarang apa yang ada, masa yang ada untuk sign attendance kamu. Alright. Untuk Fyp1 next week kita akan ada satu lagi bengkel bersama dengan Dr. Rabizah. Lepas tu nanti lepas raya baru bersama dengan saya kembali untuk buat berkaitan dengan proposal writing. So next week kita ada satu lagi dengan Dr. Rabizah. Waktu yang sama 2:30 petang, hari yang sama hari Rabu. Alright. So untuk setakat itu saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada presenter kita hari ini, Dr. Nik Roslina, dan juga kepada koordinator Fyp2 yang sama-sama bantu, Dr. Salbi. Saya ucapkan terima kasih. Alright. So untuk itu saya sudahi dengan wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ada.
Sekejap.
Ya, cepat.
Announcement lah sama juga. Next week kita akan ada dua tentang data analisis. Dr. Nurul akan bagi talk. So mohon masuk terima kasih, itu je.
Baik, Doktor.
Terima kasih Dr. Salvi. Alright. So ada apa-apa lagi daripada ni?
Doktor.
Ya, saya.
Dr. Nik, boleh tak nanti sharekan slide yang ni?
Nanti saya share dengan Dr. Zainal. Dr. Zainal share dengan yang lain
Amira daripada Fyp1, Fyp2?
Satu.
Nanti saya share.
Fyp1.
Nanti saya share.
Terima kasih.
Nanti saya share dua-dua lah dengan Dr. Zainal dengan Dr. Salbiah sekali.
Thank you.
Alright. So
Terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum.
Selamat berbuka.
Selamat berpuasa semua. Terima kasih doktor.
Hari raya. Semua puasa Semua puasa. Okey.
Semua puasa. Tak makan lagi.
Selamat Hari Raya Mauzai Batin.
Oh, Firman mana Ali Firman?
Saya dah puasa doktor.
Saya ada berat. Kenapa?